Hello everyone, Eli here, back for a new video. I'm going to kind of try something different today. Not entirely different, but what I've been wanting to do is I've been wanting to... Fuck, Louis, stop. I've been wanting to record 2 videos a week, so like if I get new stuff in, I can do like a new stuff video, and then I can do, you know, a collection video, but that just hasn't been working out. I haven't really been able to record 2 videos in a week, and honestly, lately I've barely been able to record one in like 2 weeks, so I think what I'm going to start doing, instead of trying to do 2 videos, I'm just going to do 1 video. I'll just do like a collection video and an update all together in 1 video. It'll just be slightly longer, but who gives a shit. Yeah, anyways, we're listening to something I'd never heard before. This is Daryl Hall, Hall & Oates fame, album called Sacred Songs. A buddy of mine, Chris, is a big fan, and he told me to check it out. So I'm checking it out, and we'll see how that goes. If you guys know something about that record, feel free to chime in. So, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen like the trailer for that new Nick Cage movie, Mandy. That movie just looks so fucking cool. Obviously, I've been talking a lot about it with like Eric Bauer and Pat and Marty and Ben and all those guys. I'm a big Nick Cage fan from back in the day. I really haven't paid attention to anything he's done in like the last 15 years, but last night I rewatched my favorite Nick Cage movie, which would be this one, 8mm. Sure, it's not a perfect movie. It's definitely got its flaws and its shortcomings, but it makes up for it in other ways, and then some, I think. I don't know how you guys feel about this one. I always thought it was a vastly underrated movie, to be honest. But yeah, I can't wait for Mandy. I'm probably going to pre-order that fucking thing soon. But anyways, let's get on to the shit. I have quite a bit of new stuff here, which I didn't feel like I was buying much, but it accumulates fast sometimes. I guess I'll just start off with, I've got some new releases here. Well, these are some new releases, and then there's one new re-release, but I'll lump that in there anyways. We will start off with the new Satan album, Cruel Magic. I'm a big fucking Satan fan. I have loved literally everything they've done so far, including their comeback stuff has been amazing, especially that first comeback album. I noticed that they're on Metal Blade now. They're not on Listenable. I think they were on Listenable before. Haven't listened to it yet, but I'm stoked, as they're definitely one of my favorite bands. Next we have, and I have listened to this 2 or 3 times now, we got the new Deicide album, Overtures of Blasphemy. Check out that cover art, by the way, too. So good. I feel like this guy has kind of been in the hot seat lately. Shit, I can't remember what his name was. He did the new Ghost cover art, which was fucking incredible. And yeah, anyways, I'm not going to look into it. Or I got a sticker right here. I don't know if it's... Yeah, there's no way I could pronounce that. Zignu something, I don't know. Anyways, he's been doing a lot of cover arts lately, and he's just been relatively kicking ass, so cheers to that, dude. Good album. I read a lot of people seem to be really happy with it, and I am too. I don't know if it's like necessarily blowing me away or anything like that, but I'm surely enjoying it. What is grabbing me the most is the guitar work. Is great guitar work here, very memorable. They have a new guitarist, a guy named Mark English, who's currently in Monstrosity. He hasn't been in Monstrosity for like a super long time, I don't think. I mean, he hasn't played on like a ton of their material, but anyway, I looked into him, kind of looked up his past work. He hasn't really done all that much, at least as far as what I'm familiar with, but he sure does a good job on this fucking album. And of course, if I'm going to get that, of course I had to get the new Voivod album. I've been really anticipating this, The Wake. Probably some of my favorite Voivod cover art ever. I mean, it's so cool, and it's a glossy digipack, so it's super nice to look at. And it's not like one that gets super fingerprints either, but I mean, just the colors and everything. Man, Away is just such a great artist. Everything he's done with his band has just been amazing. Got that, more Away goodies in there. And this is a special edition, which I didn't know what I was getting when I ordered it, but so it's 2 discs, So you got the album, and then on this disc you have the Post Society EP, which I already have, and it has Live at 70,000 Tons of Metal 2008 Cruise. So that's cool. I'll listen to that. Haven't really spent much time with this album yet, so I can't say too much about it, but what I'm hearing so far is pretty incredible. This is a band that, you know, they always have a lot to live up to just because of their legacy. Their last couple things they've done, like the Post Society EP and the Target Earth full length, have been really phenomenal. So even compared to their newer stuff, they have a lot to live up to. And I've only kind of perused through this once, and I'm really liking what I'm hearing, but I just don't want to talk about it yet because I haven't spent nearly enough time with it. Next, this is like I said, it's a recent re-release, but it's an older album. I wanted to try to guess what year this was from, 95 or 96, I think, but maybe 98. But don't quote me. Anyways, we got Marduk, and I can never remember how to say this. Heaven Shall Burn When We Are Gathered. I'd never owned this one. I'm a big Marduk fan. Had never owned this album. I do think it's one of their better albums. Top 5 easily, I think. And yeah, now I have it, and I'm super happy about that. It's still from the Legion era, you know, when Legion was still on vocals. And yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. I've only listened to it once so far, and I hadn't heard it in years, but it was as cool as I remember it being. So yeah. And that's one of the few Marduk albums that I honestly I'd only heard once or twice before, so everything else they've done I've heard like a million times. But yeah, I'm really glad to have it. This is kind of an oddball for me. As you know, and anytime I talk about punk on my channel, I remind you how I'm not really the biggest fan, and I'm definitely not an expert on the genre. This is one of the few punk bands that has kind of stuck with me over the years. Saw them live a bunch of years back, and I just had liked them ever since, but I never really owned much of their stuff. Prior to this, I'd only owned one album. And, you know, all you diehard punk guys, you might not really think much of this, but I really do like this band. Talking about Face to Face from California, I believe. This is it's called Hold Fast Acoustic Sessions, so this is just like some of their past songs done acoustic. I've only heard a few of the tracks so far. I bought it because I heard one of them, and I must have just been in just some stupid mood or something, because I thought it sounded kind of cool. I don't know, it's kind of cheesy. I don't know. Face to Face are a pretty fairly poppy punk band anyways. But anyway, I don't know. I'll listen to the whole way through, and I don't think it's going to be a total waste, but might not quite be my cup of tea. But anyways, we'll see. Maybe it will be. They've always had cool layouts, I feel like, at least on the stuff that I've seen, cover art and layout and stuff. Like, the CD right there is cool. I haven't bought anything from Fat Records in years. That look pretty cool. I never bought a whole lot from them, but yeah, pretty big gap there. So those are like those are the releases I've bought, in the last couple weeks that came out this year. So now what we're going to move on to is just some random shit that I've accrued over the past couple weeks. Various sources. These 3 here I got from doing a trade from a guy in Germany, oddly enough. He wanted a couple things that I had that I really didn't want, and he had a bunch of stuff that I wanted, so... One of them was that new Chemist album that I bought. I think it was pretty good, but Chemists just aren't my cup of tea, so I traded him that. I only had that for a couple weeks, but anyways, what I got from him is this Metal Mind repressing digipack of Blind Illusion, their debut full-length album, The Sane Asylum. Blind Illusion are a thrash metal band of the Bay Area, California. I'm from there as well. I can't remember if they're from San Francisco or Oakland. I'm pretty sure San Francisco. Anyways, you might know this band from This is one of the earlier bands of Les Claypool from Primus. Played bass in this band. Little fun metal trivia there. I have a couple Metal Mind releases, by the way. Metal Mind are a label out of Poland, and everything I've gotten from them so far, I think Poland, pretty sure Poland. Everything I've gotten from them so far, I think they do a pretty decent job. This is a digipack, and by the way, I don't know if any of you guys were aware of this, but so the dude sent me it in this little like plastic sleeve. It's like a vinyl record sleeve, but CD sized. I didn't know these things existed, and that's a really fucking cool idea to put your digipacks in. I'm gonna find where I can get these and order a bunch of them, because I mean, you know, when your digipack is sitting on your shelf like that, you know, it's not gonna fall apart nearly as fast as it would without it. So I think that's pretty brilliant. Anyways, if you're a thrash metal fan and you're unaware of Blind Illusion, definitely look this one up. It's a great thrash album. Next we have, this is the most recent album by American kind of black thrash band Bloodstorm, Stellar Exorcism. Look at that really sick cover art, very Lovecraftian. Barbarian Wrath, as you can see, labeled or hand numbered 457 out of 666. And yeah, I haven't heard this one yet. I've heard most all their other stuff, and I've always been a pretty big fan. Bloodstorm, awesome. Next, this is the third thing I got from that same dude. I've heard this album, but it's been a long time. When I went through this band's discography, especially like their middle era stuff that I had never really heard much of, I can't remember if this is one of the ones I liked quite a bit or not quite so much. But either way, this band has never really rubbed me wrong completely. So we got Chapter 6 from Candlemass. Music for Nations release out of England. This one came out, like I said, mid-era, so 92. I don't remember I'd have to look into it. I don't remember the lineup on this one exactly, but yeah, I know I've heard it before, but it's been many years, so I'll be reacquainting myself with that one pretty soon here. Fucking coffee. All right. And now we're moving on to, oh yeah, these two, my good buddy Ben Brain Smasher sent me these. One of the stores over by his house had been getting some cool metal stuff in, and so he picked up these for me. Both, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this band only had these two full lengths. We got Mythotin, these two Mythotin albums here. King of the Distant Forest, and this one is In the Sign of the Ravens, both out on Death Records. If I remember correctly, Death Records were kind of a sub-label of Metal Blade. Pretty fucking sure I'm right on that one, but correct me if I'm wrong. I had heard Mythotin years back, and I'm not huge into like this kind of Viking metal. These guys are a little bit more black Viking metal. But I do like some of it, and I do like the way these guys did it. So Mythotin are a band from, oh, fuck, here I go again. Sweden, I believe Sweden, I think so, because out of the ashes of this band came power metal band Falconer. If you're a power metal guy, surely you know Falconer, and so a couple of these guys started that band. Little bit more metal trivia for you. Anyways, thanks, Ben. Now we're just going to move on to some stuff that I've grabbed from like my local shop, or a couple of my local shops. Nothing incredibly rare or unusual here, but you know, that's what I bought. Apparently I was in kind of a face-to-face mood. I hadn't heard them in years and just decided to grab something of theirs that I'd never heard. So we got Don't Turn Away, also on Fat Records. As far as I know, Fat Records has put out most, if not all, of their stuff. And so yeah, I had never heard this album before. I still haven't, but I'll be listening soon. I think I'll probably dig it. They're just one of those bands that I like for whatever reason. Next, this is an album that I do own. Not on vinyl, but I think I do own this CD already, but I picked this one up because it was a different version, and fucking why not. It's Peter Gabriel's first album. This is a digipack, but I bought it because it's a different version. It's the digipack that he put out through his own label, petergabriel.com, and so it's got the gold stamp limited edition there, and I pretty much bought it just for that. I'm a huge Peter Gabriel fan. Like I said, this is his first solo album after leaving Genesis. In fact, the song Salisbury Hill, which we've all heard, it's an amazing song, one of my favorites. That song is about him leaving Genesis, and yeah, it's fantastic. Not my favorite Peter Gabriel album, although that is one of his better songs, but everything he does is good in one way or the other. Next is something that I thought I would never buy, because to be honest, I'd only heard like singles from this band, and I always thought they were atrocious. But a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine are into this band, so I thought I got this for like $2, and I thought I'd give it a shot. And if I don't like it, you know, I'll give it away or trade it off or something. Worst case, I'm only losing $2. But anyways, I believe this is their debut album. If my research that I did was correct. We have the album Faith by The Cure. Sorry about the glare. I really can't elaborate on it because like everything I've heard from The Cure I absolutely hate, but I've only heard like some of they're basically a couple of their hit singles, which I've heard, you know, you can do way better than that if you actually pursue their albums and listen to them entirely. So I'm gonna give it a shot. If there are any Cure fans, talk to me about that. If I don't like this one, maybe there's another one that might change my mind. I don't know. Let me know what you like from them, and maybe I'll look into it. Next I got this used at one of my local shops. Happy to have it. Yeah, if you guys have watched my last 5 or 6 videos, you know I've just been buying up what I can out of this band's overly massive discography. Got Melvins with Pincus Abortion Technician. This is one of their recent albums. This might even be their newest full-length. This is from this year. I'll admit, when I saw that title, I was like, what does that mean? I was like, surely it reminds me of the, you know, the debut Butthole Surfers album, which is called Locust Abortion Technician. What I didn't know, which I own that album, but what I didn't know was the bass player for the Butthole Surfers. His name is Jeff Pincus, and Jeff Pincus plays bass on this album. So hence the Pincus Abortion Technician. If you're familiar with Melvins, you know they love to collaborate, and so collaborate they did yet again on this one. And as with most Melvins releases, there's some interesting stuff on the inside there. Got that. You got that. I'm gonna grind me up a White Castle slider out of India Sacred Cow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds funny. This is the cover. I'd have to go check. This is either the cover of Locust Abortion Technician, or it's like something inspired of the cover, or the liner artwork, something like that. I know I'm right about at least 50% of what I just said. Next we have another album that I've never heard, but am quite happy to have this and excited to hear it. We have Lisa Gerrard solo album, The Mirror Pool. Came out on 4AD, you know, the same label that put out most of Dead Can Dance's work, or at least a chunk of it, from what I can remember. This came out, what, in 95. So anyways, if you've caught it before, I've said several times, I'm a massive fan of Dead Can Dance. I mean, if I had to pick only one band to listen to, I know we've all been put in this scenario. What would you listen to if you're on an island and you can only listen to one band? And I would have to pick them, because I mean, I'm much more of a metal fan, but I mean, when it comes to music that has really helped me calm down and helped me stay, you know, keep my head straight over the years, it would be Dead Can Dance. There's this, I've said many times before, they're just kind of a magical band, and that's, you know, if I wanted to survive on that desert island or whatever, I would have to have some good music and something that kept me sane. All right, here's a band that I have heard of over the years, but never heard. And to be honest, I never had planned on picking anything up by them, just because I really don't know anything about them. But when I saw this cover, I was like, man, it was used and cheap, and I had to have it. Because, I mean, look at this shit. That is so cool. I actually want to get that as a tattoo. The band is Crippled Black Phoenix. The album came out on the Season of Mist. I know that there's a guy, one of the members of this band was in Electric Wizard for a short time. That's really about all I know. I've seen all kinds of descriptions of this band, like they're, you know, post-metal, progressive rock. I don't know what they sound like, but I'll listen to that eventually, sometime before I die, I'm sure. All right, moving on. I also big fucking King Diamond fan, and there's a couple of his albums that I still don't own, so I picked up the Puppet Master just to have it. This is one of his later albums, and it's actually a really good one. I think it's very decent. It's been a long time since I've heard it, but I always really liked it. What I didn't know was this was a double disc, and it comes, god fucking damn it, comes with a DVD of some sort. Fuck, I'm just fucking up here big time, alright. What is on this DVD? Bonus DVD. Anyways, I don't know what's on it. I'll find out. But yeah, good album by King Diamond. Here's the last CD of the bunch. Didn't know what this was exactly when I saw it on a shelf. It was really cheap. It's incomplete, as you'll see in a minute. So this is what I saw on the shelf. Cool yellow case. Primus. It's missing the, whatever that insert is called. So it just has the booklet. And I'd never seen that before. When I opened it up, it's the Brown album. But I've seen the Brown album before. I've never heard it, but I've seen it, and it has a different cover than that. So I don't know if this is like a promo copy. I mean, it's complete. The staples are there and everything. So I don't know if it's a promo copy or a different version of the Brown album. I don't know. But it's cool. You know, despite it being kind of incomplete, I still like what I got. And alright, next we got a couple cassettes here. I grabbed this from my local record store just because they were there. And whenever they have cassettes, they sell them for like $1 a piece, no matter what it is. And so I grabbed this. You know, I could just play this in my car since I have a tape deck CD player. I'll probably just leave this in there. Self-titled Asia album. I guess I now have this on all formats. Why not? You might have also noticed I've been kind of snagging up stuff from this band, even though I've really only heard two of their albums, two albums that I really like, quite a bit. But yeah, Alan Parsons Project, Eye in the Sky. This is like one of those 90s albums or something, you know, 82 actually, way off. Anyways, never heard it, but I do really love two albums by the Alan Parsons Project. So now I have like 3 or 4 more that I still haven't heard, but hopefully they're good. And I grabbed this one just for the sheer fuck of it. I was a big fan when I was a kid, and I don't listen to this guy anymore at all. Ozzy Osbourne, 10 Commandments. This is basically just a compilation. It's mostly a greatest hits, but it also has some other stuff on here that I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're like demo tracks or if they're covers, unreleased tracks. I'm not sure, but Thank God for the Bomb. I don't recall that being an Ozzy song. Let's see, So Tired. I don't recall that. Steal Away the Night. I don't recall that one either. Little Dolls. Yeah, so some songs in here I'm unfamiliar with, so I assumed they were some kind of bonus tracks. I guess if I'd have looked through the liner notes, I would have figured out what the fuck they are, but maybe you will tell me. To this day, I still listen to Sabbath regularly, but Ozzy's solo stuff, I just don't. Yeah, you know, not that there's anything wrong with it, and I was a massive fan as a teenager. Like, at one point, like, I was all about Ozzy all the time. I don't know, I just don't anymore. Kind of weird how that goes, but this is something I got in the mail today, by my good buddy Mark from the band Impetigo. He received a handful of these hoodies, from whatever company that made them. And so I snagged one from him, as I always do. Whenever he has something Impetigo, I always buy it. Impetigo are one of my favorite bands, hands down. You'll learn that over the years, I'm sure, if you keep watching my shit. So, hoodie here, gray, as you can see. Impetigo logo on the front, on the back. It has that. More Cannibal stuff, of course. What does that say at the bottom? Sorry. Criminally? Oh, Primitives. I'm retarded. This is the Primitives EP. Show you that again. Yeah, and it's got on the... I just got it today. Actually, like an hour ago. I hadn't really looked at it that much. Both sleeves. It's got this. Let me get it straightened up for you so you can see what the fuck it is. Got that. Pretty fucking cool. I guess right here it says American Line. So I don't know who they are, but either a label or a distro or something, or a printing company. But anyway, yeah, very cool. Very glad to have that. It's getting cold now, so I can wear it. And all right. Oh, shit, we got one more thing that I picked up. One more, and then we're going to go on to my 10 records out of my collection. Hopefully some of you are still here, and you'll watch till the end. But really, I don't care. I've never had this on vinyl, and it's fucking one of my favorite bands, so I'm glad to have it. It's in fair condition, not great, but I really don't care. Close to the Edge, yes. I was looking at this earlier, and I thought this was kind of funny. Obviously, there's some kind of legality label contract thing where they had to say this, but I like how it says at the bottom right here, Rick Wakeman appears courtesy of A&M Records. So, this is Rick Wakeman's band. So, but anyways, he must have probably been signed to A&M for a solo. He was putting out his solo albums or something, but I just thought it was funny. Of course, gatefold when you open it up. Got the ever dreamlike Roger Dean artwork. Not his best, but even Roger Dean at his worst is always still pretty captivating stuff. I mean, just yeah, he's just one of those kind of otherworldly artists that everything he does, like, I just kind of takes me away to somewhere else, which is, I'm sure, what his intentions were. So yeah, way to go, Roger. All right, now we're going to move on to the 10 records for my collection. First, this is one of the oldest records I've ever had. Not so much, I mean, this is one of the first, I should say, one of the first records I have ever bought. At a shop that used to be here in town and has been gone for, I don't even know how long now, but Black Sabbath, Live at Last. Track listing there. This is, if I remember correctly, this is a bootleg. I am not 100% on that, but I don't see any label info on the back anyways. This is made in Spain. Anyways, like I said, I do recall hearing years ago that this was a bootleg. I can't confirm that 100%, but if it is, this is a really good live album. So... Whoever booted this, obviously, you know, their intentions were good. It's, if you can ever get your hands on this, I don't know if it's on CD or just vinyl, but it's just a really good fucking live album. Original, you know, Sabbath lineup. This is, you know, from the earlier days. Mid 70s, I think. This probably came out around 70, 74, 75, something like that, if I remember correctly. But anyway, it's really fucking good. Next, this is one of my prized possession records. I don't know exactly how rare it is. It's just one that I had really, I'd only ever come across this in the wild once, and that was when I bought it. And it is also one of my favorite albums of all time, one of my favorite Sabbath albums of all time. Anyways, got Headless Cross. Goddamn, I love everything about this. I mean, I've always loved that cover art. You know, the layout is great. But specifically, the album is fucking fantastic. This is the first Sabbath album to feature Tony Martin on vocals, and he just does a top class, you know, metal performance. I mean, his vocals on this album are up there with, you know, anything Jeff Tate did, or, you know, guys like that. I mean, this album is just, it's just like it doesn't sound like anything they had done before, or really anything that they'd done after. I mean, this is almost just like a straightforward, kind of classy sounding, smooth, heavy metal album. It's just fantastic. To be honest, this next record, I kind of forget about sometimes that it even exists. But I don't mean that in a bad way, because I mean, it is a solid record. I do like it. I'm happy with it, the way it turned out and everything. I have it on CD as well. We have Heaven and Hell. What's the album called? The Devil That You Know. If you don't remember anything about this, Heaven and Hell were Ronnie James Dio, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Vinny Appice. And this is basically a Sabbath album. They just, at this time, they couldn't use the Sabbath name, so they recorded it under Heaven and Hell. And it's really good. It's I can't remember what year it came out. 2009. Okay. If you like Dehumanizer, you know that. I think that's the final. Yeah, that's the final album they ever did with Ronnie James Dio. If you like that album, this album is pretty comparable to that. So, you know, very aggressive and heavy, but it's good. I don't think it's quite as good as Dehumanizer, but it's not far off. It's, like I said, I was pleased with it when it came out, and I like it to this day. I just don't break it out a lot, but when I do, it's worth my time, and it's worth yours, I would think. Next we have, this is a semi-recent repress of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. It's one of those represses, you know, by the original label, and they just did everything exactly the way that the original was, which is kind of cool. There's the back cover art. If you're not familiar with the artist that did both covers, it's a guy named Drew Struzan, who's done a shitload of art as far as, you know, he's done album covers, he's done movie covers. He's got a book out there, like a compilation of all his works, and he's just a fantastic painter. He's just so goddamn good. I mean, everyone knows this has always been considered a super fucking iconic album cover. And, you know, that's just one of his many artworks. And as far as the album, I do like this album. You know, I grew up on that early Black Sabbath stuff. It's not my favorite as it is. This is a lot of people's favorite. And I don't at all disagree with that. But personally, it's not my favorite, but it would definitely have to be in my top 5, I would say. In fact, I did a very kind of unpopular Sabbath video, like one of my earlier videos where I talked about all the Sabbath albums and, you know, the order in which I liked them, you know, from most to least. And yeah, I mean, my tastes in Sabbath have changed a lot over the years, and where I'm at now is not where a lot of other Sabbath fans are. So it was, you know, it might rub you the wrong way if you're a big Sabbath fan, but I was just being honest. Next we have, I've also had this for a long time, Never Say Die. This is a very kind of controversial Sabbath album. This is one of the final albums that Ozzy did before he left the first time, and you know, right before Dio joined. I always get them confused. I can't remember if this was the final or if Technical Ecstasy was the final. But anyways, controversial album just because you know, the band was at kind of a weird time when this album was being written. You know, they weren't at their strongest mindset, as well as probably other things. You know, they were doing a lot of cocaine, and that probably is why the album sounds the way it does. It just has a lot of different sounds on this album. There's some poppy stuff, there's some jazzy stuff. Fucking Bill Ward does vocals on a song, which he never had done before. It's just a weird album, but I always liked it growing up. Always liked it. And some people really do like it, but most don't. Most people do not like this album at all. It depends on who you are and maybe where you were at the first time you heard it, you know? Personally, I liked it a lot growing up, so kind of always have. I might not like it as much these days, but I think it still holds up for what it is. And next we have one of the more recent Sodom albums, I want to say 2 albums ago. So we got Epitome of Torture. This is a heavy motherfucker. Steamhammer Records. I don't know if they're still on Steamhammer. This is a double gatefold LP. This thing is just solid. I'll just show you the very nice, everything they did on this is just really good. Just really cool red, black smoke vinyl. Custom center rings, of course, and yeah. It's a beaut. It's a decent album, to be honest. You know, Modern Sodom, what they're doing right now is basically, actually I think their newer album is a little bit better than this, but anyways, this album is still pretty solid. It's, you know, they're hanging in there, and they're sounding better than a lot of bands that have been around this long, to be honest. You know, they never went like full on Metallica or anything like that. I mean, they're still capable of being a pretty good band and putting out some listenable stuff. I like to think most of the diehard Sodom fans were, you know, fairly pleased with this. Yeah, I like it. Like I said, I think their newest album, I think, is a little better, but which is good. But yeah, it's a decent album. It's worth your time. Next, man, this is a heavy motherfucker as well. I guess all double LPs are heavy. We got, I always forget who this is. Execration with Morbid Dimensions. Execration are a Norwegian death metal band. They've got a couple albums under their belt. They've been pretty quiet the last couple years. This came out on Hell's Headbangers. If I remember correctly, you can get this still from them pretty cheap. Very cool cover art, by the way, and everything on, you know, the layout and everything is just kick-ass. Just the inside there, fucking them in the forest with the burning pentagram. How cool is that? Yeah, it's awesome. Double LP, as I said. I'll just pull one out and show you. Each side has the track listing and then has a cool artwork. I'm only going to pull out one, though, because this video is getting kind of long. And you got a really nice, kind of translucent purple, kind of grape juice-esque colored vinyl. It looks really nice. It's a good album. It's a definite kind of old-school sounding death metal album. Kind of a weird sound. You would have to hear it for yourself. You know, they don't sound like one specific band from the 90s or anything like that. They just kind of have their own sound. Go check them out. Next we have, only thing I own from this album, or this band, but I do want more. We got the Silith with the Uproarious Darkness. Isn't that what it's called? All Uproarious Darkness. Got that Antichrist Kramer cover art there, which I'm not really going to say anything about that guy, but I do love his artwork, I will admit. This is an EP, by the way. Here's the back cover. It came out on 20 bucks spin. Would love these guys to put out more. I think they're still active, but I don't know. I haven't heard much from them lately. I think it's a 2-piece, if I remember correctly, out of... They might be from Texas. Don't quote me on that. They're definitely from the U.S., though, and they play a very good kind of incantation-esque, you know, doomy, dirgy death metal. I know everyone these days, you know, is citing incantation as an influence, and not to knock on anyone. Most of those bands do it pretty well. I haven't really heard one that rubbed me the wrong way, but these guys are doing that too, and they're really fucking good at it. And I really want them to do something new. This has been a good couple years or more since that one came out. Thanks for hanging in there if anyone has. I got 2 more to show, so let's do this. Classic US band right here. One of my personal favorite Doom Death albums, just by far. This is so fucking good. We got Morgian. Check that out. Among Majestic Ruin. This is their debut full length. Like I said, they're a Doom Death band of the US. One of the best Doom Death bands ever. There's the back. Relapse Records originally put it out, but I have the Creation Records re-release. Creation Records is a label out of Seattle. And I have heard some pretty shady things about them. Honestly, I've heard a lot of shitty things about them. I bought this in Missoula, Montana, but this is the only Creation thing I've ever owned. To be honest, I have this on CD, and I have never played this vinyl yet. I mean, I love the shit out of it.